Hey, hello everybody. Tim here again, and here's my friend Barry from America. As I told you about, we're just starting our new channel. Hello, Barry. How are you?
Good afternoon, Sweden. Good morning, America. What are we, 6 hours difference or 5?
Yeah, well, that depends on when you change to summertime. We just changed to summertime this weekend.
Oh, okay. So yours probably 6.
It's 6 now. Did you change to summertime already?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with people like in the Dominican Republic. They quit that a long time ago.
I think our Congress passed something where they're going to stop this daylight savings time. It's too confusing. It's people don't want it anymore.
Yeah,
well, at least here in America.
Yeah, no, we're talking about it too, but as you know, we have other things to worry about here. We're close.
That's the least thing we have to worry about here.
Exactly. So I just want to reach out to my Swedish subscribers and viewers and let everybody know that our channel is, for now at least, going to be called Social News Network TV.
Yep.
SNN TV with Tim and Barry.
Yep.
So like social, that was a word that you and me agreed on because Truth Social will come with Trump.
Yep.
And social platforms and all of that. And of course, news is what we're going to talk about, right?
Yes.
And network, well, we are going to be a network, like the biggest in the world.
Well, yeah, it's social media with news, current news, and the network of people that we reach out to. So it's perfect because we're going to be on TV. So YouTube TV anyway. So Social News Network TV.
Yeah, and if I know you,
perfect.
If I know you correctly, we'll be on Fox soon. So Social News Network TV, right? And SNN TV with Tim and Barry will be the underline, so to say. So
yeah, there can be our logo, SNN. Welcome SNN TV viewers.
Yeah, exactly. So that was my idea here, so to say, to reach out to my Swedish subscribers so that we can get going. And
Absolutely.
Then once we reach a few episodes, we'll create playlists for depending on if we talk about news or music or travel or whatever it is, so that people can follow our playlists. And I think that's a good concept that we'll hear directly from you regarding what's going on in the States and maybe the Caribbean and other places. And American viewers will hear about Sweden and Scandinavia and I guess Putin. So what's the story there now in the States anyway? How are people reacting at your job and other things? Are they worried or are they just?
I think here in America, many people are very frustrated. They're very frustrated with our economy. I just literally put gas in my car yesterday because I have to do a lot of driving today, and it cost me $70, $70 US to fill up my tank. That's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot. I paid up $4.50 a gallon, which is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And there's no reason for it. There's absolutely no reason for it. And I think that affects people. You go to the grocery store, and the cost of food is skyrocketing, and there's no reason for it. There's no need for it, and it's just people are just very, very frustrated with how the economy is, the cost of goods and services, the cost of gas, everything is skyrocketing. And it's because transportation, trucking, trains, moving product from vendors to warehouses to retail stores. It's just absurd how the cost of goods has gone through the roof.
And that started long before the war. So that
has nothing. Don't listen to mainstream media, because it has nothing to do with Putin and Ukraine and the war that's going on. Unfortunately, it's so sad. It's so very sad what we see on TV. However, it happened long before Putin even invaded. Yeah.
So what do you think is the main? I'm going to come into some other things regarding you and me also here, but I want to start with that since we're into that topic already. By the way, those $70 you're talking about is 130 here. So for the same, so we are paying even more. But so what is the main reason you think? Because it couldn't just be in spite of Trump, right? I mean, why don't you just drill for oil and frack gas and all that stuff?
at the beginning, it was in spite of Trump. When Biden came into office, his administration and his followers immediately said, undo everything that Trump policies were.
Even if they know they were good.
Even if they know they of course they know they were good. How can we United States was energy independent. Energy independent. We had low gas prices, we had low inflation, we had everything moving in the right direction. And in spite of Trump, just out of hatred, they canceled everything. An executive order to cancel the Keystone Pipeline. Why? Yeah. It would have been up and running now, and we would not have had this problem if he just left everything, all of Trump's energy policies in place. It would have been fine. But no, just out of spite and out of hatred, they canceled everything. They wanted to undo everything that Donald Trump put in place. And it's sad. And it's sad because it doesn't affect them because they're all multimillionaires down there in Washington, but it affects people across America. It really does. It affects the middle class. It affects low income. It even affects upper class. And it's all about power here. And it's sad because we can get into this about how our society has basically gone downhill here in America. It really has. And for business people, just to try to run, a lot of entrepreneurs like you and I, we have been doing this for so many years now, Tim, what, since the 1980s?
Yeah, since 89 anyway.
Yeah, when we met in New York, and that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother episode we can go on. But just to start off here in America, our society has become very toxic. And it's become very toxic with this whole new woke movement going on with the gender this and gender that, and it's just, and before, if you want to bring politics back into it, you have to realize that the Democratic Party of Bill Clinton and Al Gore and even what's his name, Joe Lieberman. Lieberman. I don't know if you guys remember him. He was Al Gore's vice president candidate. Joe Lieberman. That movement is gone. That Democratic Party is gone. And it's a shame because that Democratic Party could work with Republicans. And Republicans did work with Bill Clinton. They really did. And they got stuff done. Now Washington and this Democratic Party has become so far left that if you disagree with them or you do not accept their policies or you want to change something, you're automatically labeled a racist, which is so stupid. I mean, come on. I mean, you're racist, you're a bigot, and we hate you. And unfortunately, our mainstream media, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast with you, is because I wanted people in Sweden and Denmark and Norway and whoever your followers are, or wherever we get more followers in Europe, I wanted them to see, among many other podcasts and many other social media platforms, that express the reality of what's going on. Because you're not going to get it from ABC, CBS, NBC. You're not going to hear it from New York Times or the Washington Post. You're not going to hear it online with Yahoo or Google or whoever, any of your home pages. It's all mainstream media, and it's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous.
So I was going to go there actually, and because you and me started out in New York, and then we also lived a long time and worked many years together in Miami, and now lately, a few years ago, in Delray, West Palm Beach, and so on and so on. But now you live in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Charlotte.
So what is the? Yeah.
Go ahead.
What is the difference you think today in this polarized society in America, if that's the correct words? But I mean,
that's a good way to put it, polarized.
Yeah. So New York, I know, is really super Democrat, right? In California and Oregon and those states that are really the problems, the big problems 2020 and 2021 were there. But how is North Carolina and South Carolina, if they are similar, compared to Florida of today, which is free, so to say, and New York today, which is really Democrat? Are you somewhere in the middle, or how is it there?
think we're somewhat in the middle, but North Carolina is run by the Democrats, has a Democratic governor. And it's controlled a lot. Unfortunately, I feel sorry for the schools and the children in the school systems because it's all run by the Board of Education and the teachers unions here in North Carolina. And it's sad that with this whole mask mandates, it's not necessary. It's not following the science. Everyone says follow the science, but but they don't.
No,
They have an agenda. They're all on a power trip, and it's ridiculous. And I think most Americans realize this now, that now they're talking about getting another booster shot. Pfizer, Moderna, and all these pharmaceutical companies are talking to the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, and they're trying to say, oh well, we think there's another variant coming out here. It's much worse than the Omicron or whatever you call that one that we just passed here. And they're saying, oh, we need another booster shot. Well, who's paying? Are you giving that booster shot for free?
And that's interesting that everybody.
Are you manufacturing? Not to cut you off, but are you manufacturing that booster shot for free?
No.
So who's paying for it? Who's paying for the manufacturing and the distribution of that fourth?
That's gonna be tax money. So everybody's paying, even if you don't want it.
Of course it is. The federal government is paying these pharmaceutical companies money. It's gotten to the point where I think Americans now realize it's all a crock of what.
So
it's all
just because you mentioned this topic now, I want to go into that because most of my viewers know this, but I'm not sure you know it, Barry, yet, but a little bit maybe. This channel that we're on YouTube is a fantastic platform technology-wise, and it's really the best one out there for uploading and services and doing things. And it's fairly easy to make a little compensation for the time we're spending, but it's a very Google-ish censored channel. So just remember that when we want to talk about certain things a little more up in the air, we'll do that as episode 2 or part 2, as we say.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, I think as our first episode, I think it's important that we do create a platform where we have conversations on multiple different issues.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying that, unfortunately, in Sweden, we have a very funny language, which is a little bit created by Christer, one of my YouTube friends in the Philippines. And he's very, very creative when it comes to changing words. Like instead of saying the vax, he's calling it washer fluid for your car. Like, so we change words. And like, Kamala Harris, she's the camel. And your president is the toilet, because bidet is a toilet in Swedish. So these YouTube words and languages is weird that you have to go there. Otherwise you get yellow and green and all kinds of colors that they have. But that's interesting. So we have the same situation in Sweden, but we were actually the country with, I think, the lowest lockdowns in the world.
Yeah.
We never had a period with all restaurants and bar closed. We never closed the schools. We never had mandates of the mask. But we did have a short period this past winter where we actually had a vaccine passport. You couldn't go to a movie or a nightclub if you didn't have it. So I just said, well, I'll wait. What do I need to go to a club for? Yeah, but I mean, we had a better situation than Austria. Let's talk about Canada and Australia and those countries. And that's what I meant with my question about North Carolina, where you are. Did you have these draconical lockdowns, or was it just New York and the Democratic states? Or
no, we didn't have lockdowns, but we had mask mandates.
Okay, like inside and outside, or just inside?
Inside.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where people just said, they got so comfortable wearing the masks that they just continued. They just kept them on. And it's so funny because you would walk down, you'd go to a shopping center or you go grocery shopping, and you would see people in their cars by themselves wearing a mask. It's like, are you serious?
That's brainwashing.
Yeah, it really is brainwashing. They just became so comfortable and so, what's the word for it? I guess you're just accepting.
Yeah. You just lie down and take it, and you don't think.
They wear the mask 24/7, and you're in the car driving. I mean, like I just said, and you're by yourself. There's nobody in the car with you.
You know,
And you
that
have
should be
and you have
that
your
should
mask
be
on.
illegal, because if you don't get oxygen, you can faint and then you smash
Yeah.
into somebody else.
It's gone to the point where you look at somebody and you just want to like,
You know, I really think it's torture when you see American schools up in Minnesota and so on, when you see these YouTube films and other video clips,
yeah,
where you see these teachers or whatever you call them in the lower schools when they're 2, 3, 4 year old,
yeah,
in
the elementary
kindergarten and
schools.
things like that, and they put them on, and the children are screaming, "I don't want it! I don't want it!" And they
Right.
just, what is going on? That's torture.
And not only that, but the kids, they show scenes on the news sometimes of children out in the playground, outside,
Yeah.
completely outside. And these are elementary school kids that most likely will never get the coronavirus. And they're forced to wear masks
Yeah.
outside, running around. And then they interviewed, I remember I saw a segment on the news where they interviewed a school teacher, and she said something like, well, we're going to send we're not going to have kids go to the cafeteria. We're going to go, this is in the middle of winter, middle of winter when it's like 20 degrees outside.
Yeah.
And we're going to send the kids outside in the parking lot to have lunch. I mean, so these kids are supposed to go out in the middle of the parking lot. It's 20 degrees in the middle of winter to eat lunch because they feared the spread of the coronavirus.
And
I mean, that's how sad our educational system has become, and that's a whole nother topic for us, and we would get into.
Yeah, we'll go through. I think that this first episode it's good that we go through a little bit short about exactly what we're going to talk about for the
future. We're going to hit a couple bullet points.
Yeah, we talked about that our channel will be different in the first sense of that you're in America, I'm in Sweden. I will come back to America and you will probably come to Sweden, and we will have a chance to do episodes together, and like this when we are in different parts of the world. And that's interesting, right. I think, even for some at least of my Swedish subscribers and my friends, we call us the YouTube family. So our YouTube family, we're like 10 or 15 with our own channels. We interview each other, we do live shows and talk about everything. And many people have said, do you have to talk about the vaccine every day? No, we can talk about various types of politics all around the world, sports, music, travel, dining out, so on, so on. There are many topics that people are asking me that you and me should talk about. So why don't we just do a little bit about our history, since this is our first episode.
Okay,
so
well,
we met in 89.
It's our first episode, but let me just follow up, and I'll put this whole mask mandate to an end. I think a lot of the states here in the United States have actually reduced the demand to wear masks. And I think, like you said, going out to dinner and going to restaurants and this and that, nobody's really wearing a mask anymore. So it's actually gotten pretty good. And I think a lot of people have either are fully vaccinated or they've gotten the coronavirus of some form, one way or another. And I think it's almost like herd immunity. I think they use that term.
It's just
and people are like, you know what, if we got the Omicron, if that's the right way to say it, or this new variant that's going to come out, it's no different than getting a little cold.
And that's the serious part of this, that Omicron, every scientist, every doctor who knows anything knows that the first variant that came, the alpha, and then the beta, which nobody talked about, and then the delta, and then the Omicron, and now they say the delta cron, whatever they call them, it's all about the amount of spike proteins. And I'm not going to go into that, but all of the doctors I talk to all over the world on YouTube channels, they say that a variant cannot be stronger. It can only be weaker, but it can spread easier.
Right.
But who cares if it spreads easier if you don't get sick from it?
If you don't get sick or you get a head cold, big deal.
Yeah, big deal.
Anybody can get a head cold, but yet you see on the mainstream media, you see on ABC, NBC, CBS, oh, there's a spike in America about the whole new variant, and it's just like, oh, come on, give it a rest.
But that's the same as another topic that I want us to go into another day, which is about the war in Russia and Ukraine. And because I want to talk to you in person before we do those episodes, because many, many things are happening here. And there are Americans living in Ukraine that we have not connection with, but we listen to their pods. And the war is not what you see in mainstream media. And So let's do that another day. It's a sad situation, but it's not only Putin. It's just as much America and EU and NATO.
Oh, yeah.
They want this war in a way that is very, very dangerous, I think. But in order for not to get our Swedish subscribers and hopefully subscribers and viewers today, so they don't get bored, because this is what we talk about in Swedish every day. But I think that before we continue with that in our next coming episodes, I want to go into a little bit about you, Barry, and like who you are, because I remember we met in '89 in New York with William and Anders at that nightclub. We became.
Was it '89?
'89. You know, when you come into the Holland Tunnel, and there was a club there with models, because you always knew all the models for some reason, and Anders and William too, I guess.
That's much younger and better looking.
Yeah, who knows?
and a lot thinner.
Yeah, no, a couple of pounds, so what?
Whatever.
But I remember that soon after that, I started a company with my cousin Anders.
Hold on. Was it called The World?
Could have been. It's just
or no, 18.
The Holland. It's just when you come into the Holland Tunnel, so it's actually lower than that. It's on Varick.
Yeah. This is gonna bug me.
Yeah, we'll take that later. Whenever you think about it, because it was not Nelson, it was not Palladium, it was none of those, but it was another party there anyway. Forget about it.
Why did you do this?
Yeah, mention it when you remember it. But my point was that Anders and I, my cousin, we just started Scandinavian newspaper, and we imported all Scandinavian newspapers with SAS flights daily, 7 days a week. And you came to work with us, and that this was New York and New Jersey and
New Jersey.
Yeah, and here's my question: even if you haven't been there for long, but how do you see New Jersey and Manhattan and New York like then, 89, 90, 91, compared to today?
Oh, it was 100% better. It was 100% better, because if you realize back then, and this is another topic we can get into, we didn't have social media, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have smartphones, we didn't have any of that stuff back in the 80s.
We have quarters in the phone.
Yeah, quarters in the phones, and you had to disinfect them. You had to have wipes to just spray down the phone before you got on it. And you had pay phones. But you said, okay, I'll be at your house or I'll be at your apartment at 9 o'clock. We'll have a couple of beers, then we'll go out and do the whole scene. Now it's just like everybody is walking around like this. Cell phone.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
nobody talks like.
Nobody talks. Nobody communicates. The communication skills of the younger generation is horrible. It's just
because what I wanted to say was that, like we do in Sweden, many of us at least, we feel sorry for Swedish young people between 15 and 21, because they think that this is the world. They think that this is how it is with super Islamistic immigration here, and we have the Afghanistan, and we have this and this and this, and they don't know better. And I'm not saying now that every immigrant is a bad person. I usually say that very clear to everybody, and they understand that I'm not talking about the individual. I'm talking about our politicians, what they have done to our country. Like when Trump says, you got to vet the people, you got to get who's coming in.
Yeah. You're
because
more than welcome to come.
When I was in New York, everybody was from all over the world, but it wasn't the same problem as today.
You're more than welcome to come. Just come the right way.
Legally and the right way.
Legally, we welcome you with open arms, but just come the right way. But comparing New York City, and plus, unfortunately, not to get political, but New York City has been constantly run by Democrats. And the big cities, they're backed by the teachers' unions, and it's just gotten so far left that the society as a whole, there's a huge homeless problem now in New York City as compared back when we met in the 80s. When we met back in the 80s, and starting your Scandinavian newspaper, it was easy. You try doing that now.
No, everything was,
it would cost you a fortune.
We got the permits. We got permits right away. And I remember that Rudy Giuliani did a great job. And every time you talk about him nowadays, everybody associates him with Trump and the election problem. But I think that I actually saw I was in Manhattan from 87 and on, as you know. And as a Swede, I compared it to Sweden.
Yeah.
And I saw how New York became cleaner and cleaner and safer and better and better. And I never had anywhere in Manhattan or Brooklyn or anywhere.
No.
And today I hear it's really, really bad. And then just to continue to another town, Miami. You and me moved to Miami together, if you remember, 91. I called you from Washington Square with a quarter, like you said. And I said, hey, you got 20 grand. I have 20 grand. We're moving to Miami. We're starting another newspaper company. That was pretty funny, actually. Okay, when are we moving? Next Saturday.
Okay, can you come? Yeah, my bags are packed.
And that was funny because after that, we worked with Tabort Stain Remover, the pen, if you remember.
Yeah.
And then you and me said, God, it's nice to have a beer. Shouldn't we be beer importers? And we contacted Spendrups, Prips, and Falcon, and Falcon said yes. And what are your, let's say, I want to ask you this. What are your spontaneous memory of our Falcon beer projects? The first years, so to say.
The first few years of Falcon beer in South Beach was phenomenal because we had Gold Coast distributors, if you remember. What was his name? Doug Harley.
They were owned by that Nantucket Holdings, right?
Nantucket Holdings, yep. And Peter Simmons, I think his name was, and I forget the other name. And unfortunately, both of them have passed.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, unfortunately, they were great guys, but both of Nantucket Holdings in Greenwich, Connecticut, they died of cancer. So there's no more Nantucket Holdings, from what I understand.
Yeah, just for our viewers, you lived in Greenwich, Connecticut.
I live in Greenwich, Connecticut. You know, and Peter Simmons and I'll have to think of his name. Great guys, and they actually. I sat down at Gold Coast Beverage Distributors when you were in Sweden. I had my meetings with them and everything. Oh no, actually, it was you and me.
Yeah, we did that roller presentation and all that.
Yeah, you and I did that, and in front of the Nantucket Holdings and Doug Harlica, and the guy from Nantucket Holdings says, "I'm in." He said, "I'm in." He goes, I want this beer, because back then you have to realize our pitch was all the Scandinavians coming in on Tower Air. Was it Tower Air?
Tower Air, because they bought up all the old TWA planes.
Yes, Tower Air 747s. They had like 4 flights a week.
Yeah.
On a 747, 4 flights. Yep, there you go. 4 flights a week on a 747, packed, for all sold out, coming to South Beach. And it was incredible because we were already established in South Beach. So we knew everybody, and we knew all the hotels. And that was before half of the hotels, if you remember when we were down there, they were all boarded up.
All of these luxury hotels that are down there today, run by Russians, by the way, they were so-called back-taxed, as you told me.
They were you could buy these oceanfront hotels on a tax lien.
Yeah, and we were close to buy one, if you remember.
Yep, if we had access to the money back then that I have now, we would be multi-billionaires. We would have bought up everything on Ocean Drive.
And today we can't even.
And today I'm bitching and moaning about putting gas in my car.
I know it's very different, but I mean, I just remember it was such a nice period because we had the export manager of Falcon Beer, Peter. He was sort of a half type of alcoholic, but he was pretty nice because we had these parties. I have the pictures still, the Kodak, the old cameras. I have all the pictures from our Falcon Beer parties when he was there, Bobby Brown and all of these famous people, all on South Beach on Ocean Drive.
Yep, and Bobby Brown, and who was it? There was a bunch of, that's when all the movie stars started coming down to
we had this friend Tony that opened his Scandinavian place.
Yep.
And he had those boxers, and it was Holyfield's friends and all kinds of shit that was going on.
And then we were down. Hold on one second. We were down at the Clevelander.
Yeah.
That's when I was down there, and we were playing all these big games, drinking games with these models and everything. And who walks in the door but Michael Jordan? And we were playing some pretty explicit drinking games with these girls. and it's called Thumper. Do you remember that game?
Yeah.
Yeah, Thumper. And we were there with the pitchers of beer and everything. And who walks in but Michael Jordan and his entourage. And all of a sudden, they were watching us, and it was so funny. I will never forget this. And they were watching us, and Michael Jordan's like, because looking at me and looking at all these girls, and he's like, "What the f are these guys doing?" And these girls. And then finally, at one time we took a break, and I walked up to the bar to get another pitcher of beer, and Michael Jordan looked at me, and I looked at him, and I was like, "Hey, how are you?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm doing well." He goes, "You want to sit here?" And I said, No, I'm over at the table." And he's like, "What are you guys doing? What are you playing?" I said, "We're playing Thumper." And it was, a very erotic drinking game. And I won't get into that now.
No, but I mean, if you remember.
And it was so cool because here it is, Michael Jordan, the famous basketball player, and all his guys. And you could see him because I'm like, I'm tall. I'm like 6'1". But yeah, I'm looking like this to him and all his buddies. And they were just laughing. They were hysterical. And it's just like you and I are talking right now. I'm talking to Michael Jordan.
Yeah, it was a lot of people that we met.
And it was so cool that back then because everybody was laid back. Everybody was just, you didn't care if they were a movie star or a rock star or if you were a bartender or a waiter. You just had a normal conversation about, life.
I just want to tell my Swedish viewers that you and me were there at one New Year's party. I think it was 91 to 92. And then
that was the best New Year's party I've ever been to.
Yeah, that was the Swedish high jumper, Patrik Sjöberg, who is really famous in Sweden. He was there, and I talked to him a few years back at a club in Malmö regarding this night. And I remember you and me were standing there with these girls from Gothenburg, and we were all drinking tequila shots. And Lotta, the Swedish girl that we all liked in the bar, she was... And then you and me came up with this thing that because these Swedish girls, they were just shotting tequila. And I said, "Barry, what are we going to do to survive this night?" And you said, "Tim, do you see that the girls are closing their eyes when they take the shot?" So you and me were like, poof, threw them all in the pool over there. Yeah, like this. And then after a while, we told Lotta to give us water because they got stone drunk and you and me survived all night.
We're never going to make it. We're never going to make it through the night.
And also, if you remember, we had a great time at other clubs in Miami Beach when we met actors like Matt Dillon and Mickey Rourke at their clubs.
Yeah, Mickey Rourke used to hang out there all the time.
Yeah,
he was another one that drank our Falcon beer.
Yeah, exactly.
And what was that? What was the nightclub?
The Whiskey or something. No, the Spot, yeah. But there was the one place called the Whiskey and one called the Spot. But I mean, you knew a lot of people that you introduced me to. And one thing that I want to tell our viewers, if they're interested, is that the fun part for you was that Cherryborg and all these Danish and Swedish travel agencies, they pumped in Swedish girls and Danish. I mean, the parties were incredible at that point.
Yeah, the good old days.
The good old days. Yeah. So anyway,
but that was another thing about South Beach at that time was because it was just catching on, and it was catching on because all the Europeans were coming over. It was more the Germans, the Scandinavians, and it was more Europeans than Americans. And the Americans worked in the hotels, and even the Europeans got jobs over there through the travel agencies and all that stuff. And then, of course, it caught on because South Beach was topless.
Absolutely.
So
that's the same in Sweden. We couldn't.
Everybody in America was, all the guys were coming down to South Beach because, oh my God, all these European girls and it's topless. And
that came from here because in Sweden that was standard, and which is it's not anymore. But so that this is, as I call it, after Scarface and before the Russians.
Yeah.
Because now it's only Russians.
Because Scarface was filmed in South Beach.
Yeah.
And it was funny because right now it's out of control. When we left, that's when all the big corporations like the Hilton hotels and the Hyatt and the Marriott, they were all started buying up everything.
Yeah.
And that's because they could buy it dirt cheap, and they knew that the modeling agencies were all skyrocketing down there, and it became the hippest place to be, and the movies were being filmed down there. That's when what was it, Miami Vice started to take off.
Yeah. But I remember that, as long as I was there till 20, 18, regularly with the insect repellent and so on.
Yeah.
Delray Beach was fine because that was sort of if you remember, you and me, we called Delray Beach something. They got an award for 8 years in a row as America's nicest small town in America. And you and me called it Miami Beach for people over 40. Because it were more adults, but it were live music. It was reggae,
what was that
funk, rock.
street?
Atlantic Avenue.
Yeah.
It was a super party street with restaurants and bars and music and
open cafes,
open cafes, and you could go to all types of places from all over the world, but it was expensive there.
Yeah.
And but I mean, so even though if we think about, just to finish this up for today.
Well, you can't touch South Beach now.
Well, you can, but it's not the same. And
it's not the same. But it's so expensive.
Yeah.
It's so expensive. And I mean, when we were there, it was cheap because it was still up and coming. And you walk every other block or every other street, there was a boarded up hotel or a big chain link fence in front of the hotel because it was, closed. But the bars that were open, like the Cleveland, there and a few of them, the Tropicana and all those hotels and bars, they were cheap.
Yeah, I can tell you.
Now I don't even know what a beer cost at the Cleveland.
Well, it's expensive, but I can tell you a sad story. If you remember, you and me borrowed an apartment in North Miami on 91st Street. That Stuart's friend, he owned it. Mm-hmm. And this was 2009.
Yeah.
And he had to sell it really quick for $275,000. And other people did too after the downfall.
The crash.
The Lehman Brothers and all that stuff. But this particular, not this particular apartment, but that area, North Miami Beach, with a 2-bedroom on the beach side for less than $300,000 is more than $3 million now.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's absolutely crazy.
It's so you can't even touch that stuff down there. Now I was looking at up in Jupiter, Florida, where you can buy a beautiful 2-bedroom, 2-bath condominium in a gated community for like $250,000. It's now $500,000.
That's where, for every Swedish person who doesn't know, Jupiter, north of West Palm Beach, that's where Jesper Parnevik lives.
Yeah.
And here in Sweden, we have a TV show on TV3 called The Parneviks. They have a show on their own since a few years back. Yeah, so I remember that, Barry, that it was fantastic in Delray, but it was expensive, as you say. So then you moved to Naples for a while. That's on the west coast of Florida, right?
I did. My uncle lived over there in Naples. So I went down there with my mother. We rented the place in Greenwich, Connecticut, and I took my mom down to Naples, and I wanted to be in a location, where she felt safe, and we had family. We had family down in Naples. So we were down there for a couple of years. And then my sister started this magazine in North Carolina. It's called Lux Lifestyle. And it was really taking off, and she needed a lot of help. And I personally like the East Coast of Florida. I don't like the West Coast. I'm not a big fan of the West Coast. So, I mean, some people don't care, but I do. I like the ocean. As opposed to the Gulf of Mexico. You and I always went to the East Coast of Florida. Mm. So it was time for a change. And then my mom has cancer. And so we came up here to North Carolina because they have a fantastic Levine Cancer Center. So I said, well, then let's go. And we had family here in Charlotte. And that's how I ended up from Naples back up here to Charlotte.
So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your magazine? Let us know the website and what are you doing and where do you sell it? And
well, you can go to www.lux, L-U-X, not Lux with an E, Lux magazine Lux Lifestyle /magazine. So it's just, you can Google Lux Lifestyle Magazine. And
we can link it later. But what exactly?
We will do links. So it's a lifestyle magazine. It's a lifestyle magazine with travel and food, entertaining, fashion, all kinds of stuff like that. And it's nice. When you go on it, we've changed the concept a lot over the last couple of years, but nevertheless, it's still it's a lifestyle. magazine, and we do architecture, we do real estate, we have all type. We feature certain real estates here, and we kind of have started a new Lux location, and what it is it's Nantucket, it's Manhattan or the Hamptons, out in Long Island, the Hamptons, Charlotte, North and South Carolina, and then we go down to Palm Beach. So it's a couple different locations, and we kind of do a little focus stories on each location, on each issue. It comes out twice a month. I mean, once every 2 months, bi-monthly. So we have six issues, and then we do a seventh issue, which is focusing on weddings, which is we're doing that now. We're actually working on that now.
Okay.
And that's 7 issues a year. So it's doing well. It's growing. Each issue grows and grows, and it's just it's competitive, but it's making some money, and it's gotten a lot of great reviews. And I think I sent you a few copies over in Sweden.
Yeah, absolutely. We will link it to other people later, because that's what I think our channel will partially be about. Like, I know that a lot of my subscribers, a lot of my friends and family, they want to go to America. They might want to go to Caribbean or whatever. Now when we hopefully we're hoping that the pandemic is going to become less and less, so to say, but who knows what happens with new variants and stuff. But let's not talk about that now, because lifestyle, restaurants, dining, travel in America, I mean, you and me have some history. You know a lot of places, I know a lot of places, we know a lot of places together, and we even have connections with hotels and travel and things. So I think that could be interesting. I've already heard from a lot of people who are interested in going to Florida, and they want to go to Florida basically because of Trump and Ron DeSantis, because they're hearing that, oh, it's a free state, make America Florida. How do you see that? Just to finish up with that before we
it's kind of funny that you said that, because all the Democrats that are in these states that are locked down, they all go to Florida, and they're seeing with outdoor cafes, and don't have any masks on, and they're partying down.
How is it possible that Pelosi and other people, Kamala Harris, how is it possible that the Democrats can go and party in Florida, and then they have no shame in their body when they still let people have masks in their own states?
That's right. And what's her name? AOC.
Oh my God.
AOC.
Cortez,
and everybody has to be met. Yeah, everybody has to be masked, and you need mandates, and we need this, and we need that. We want free stuff, and then she goes down to parties in Miami with no masks, and it gets photographed.
It's unbelievable how this world have turned out in basically 2 years.
Yeah.
And then when we just hope for a great summer, then the war starts, and who knows what's going on. But just to finish off with that, then, and we can continue. This first episode is almost coming to an hour now, but I want to hear your views regarding one question here before we finish for today. A lot of people have asked me, and this is a question to you, of course. I've asked Jorn, I've asked Gunnar, I've asked a lot of friends, but I want to hear your point of view since we're starting this channel now. How do you see this upcoming midterm selection for the Congress and the Senate? And Trump's, they say he has 98% approval rating in the GOP. Is there a chance that the Republicans will win both the Congress and the Senate? And will that affect America in a positive view before Trump takes back the White House?
Well, if you actually, even on YouTube, there's a bunch of videos of Trump's recent rally in Georgia.
I saw that.
It was crazy. 5,000 people there. So another one of his crazy rallies. There's recent polls that came out for Donald Trump that I think he's definitely going to run. I think, and they were saying there's like 70 or 80% approval rating for Trump within the Republican Party, that they want him to run again. But in reference to the midterms, which is going to be starting now, everybody's starting to campaign here in America, spring and summer for the elections come November, and it's midterms, and it looks like, based on just the stuff that's going on in our society and the politics and the political hatred here in America in the mainstream media, I think the Republicans are definitely going to take back the House and the Senate. I really do. There seems to be such a frustration going on with the Democratic leadership here in the United States that just with this, even just with the stupid gas prices.
I hear Democrats all over America on different channels that they said, I don't like Trump, and they don't even know why they don't like Trump because they're brainwashed. Right. But they still say, I'm becoming red because we can't continue down this road. It's impossible.
No, you got to see also a lot of Democrats resigning.
Yeah, I heard
resigning
that.
From Congress and they're resigning from the Senate, and they're just saying, I don't like where this party's going. I am they call themselves Democrats, but they said, I don't like where the direction the Democratic Party's going, and it's not, like I said to you earlier in this episode, it's not the same Democratic Party from Bill Clinton and Al Gore and Joe Lieberman. I mean, even Ted Kennedy, he's passed away now, but he says it's not the same Democratic Party.
No, definitely.
And Americans are catching on to it, and they don't like it. They don't like the policies. They don't like our borders. I mean, look at our southern border. I mean, you're talking millions and millions of people, and that's a great topic for another episode.
I think
last month we had over 200,000.
Yeah, I think that it doesn't have to do with the GOP, Democrats, or Trump or Biden anymore. It's just that who is for what's right for America. Right. And I don't know, but I think that there is one negative point, I think, of Trump running, and that is that so many on the other side hates him. But I think if he gets a second chance, maybe he has a running mate like Ron DeSantis or somebody else like Marjorie Taylor Greene or whatever her name is.
Yep.
And I think that this time I think that Trump also learned a lot from his first period.
Well, he did, but you also have to realize his first people were so shocked and so upset that he became president over Hillary Clinton that even our FBI or CIA or NSA or intelligence agencies, the swamp in Washington, including the Democratic Party and including the intelligence agencies and including the mainstream media, would do anything and everything they possibly could to disrupt his 4 years as president.
Absolutely.
And they did. And they did.
And they're going down, and they're all going down now.
It's all coming out. It's all coming out now, and they're all being uncovered. And it's gotten to the point now where if he did run again, I don't think they could pull the same BS that they did last time he ran.
No, definitely not.
No, so he's got a good chance to be actually a good president and incorporate his policies into the United States without all these scandals, these fictitious scandals.
Yeah. Hillary just withdrew, and she's Trump sued her now, and Peter Strzok and Lisa Lovergirl, and
he's suing everybody.
I can't believe Brennan and Clapper and those monkeys are still sitting on CNN lying their asses off.
And they're still lying.
Yeah,
they got away with it, and because the mainstream media is going to do the same thing all over again. They're going to kind of create some type of scandal with this and with that, and Trump did this and Trump said that, and it's going to be headline news, and people are not buying it. People are not buying it. This is why I also wanted to do this podcast with you, is because I think more and more people are turning to social media platforms to get their news.
Absolutely.
Because what you and I talk about is not what ABC News is going to talk about or what CNN is going to talk about. They have one agenda, and that's the focus.
Yeah, and you can see when you watch people like the Rubin Report, Dave Rubin, and you can also see Megyn Kelly. These are pros, and they have YouTube channels, and they have their own like Sirius XM and so on, but they're also nervous. And like Russell Brand, you can see that they say themselves that follow us on Rumble as well, and Getter and Locals and so on.
Right.
Because they know they can be deplatformed anytime. So I want to build this on YouTube because YouTube has the most viewers, and I think that you and me can, you know, create this. This is our first episode, which is, you know, pretty fun, and I think that the mix of what you and me will do, we can always do part 2 and part 3 on other platforms if we feel that we want to talk about things that is not accepted on this platform.
Yeah, absolutely, because you know it's gotten to the point where now big tech, and I'm sure everybody realizes this, has an agenda. You know, Google, Facebook, Twitter. I mean, people that just because you know you got a bunch, I don't know what they are, they're millennials or Generation Z or whatever you want to call them. You know, they're all working at these social media high tech companies.
But they're losing a lot, so I think that
Yeah, because more and more people are saying, you know what, I don't want to be on Twitter anymore. I don't want to
you're
be
in the
on
States, so you got to keep track. I have my sources in West Palm Beach, as you know, and you got to keep track on Truth Social, because as soon as we can upload and do Truth Social, we'll do that and YouTube, both of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's finish this first episode, and I hope that you know, this is what we're going to do. Obviously, we're going to create this channel. We're going to develop it. We're going to do, you know, better sound and light and backgrounds and this and that. But that's just a visual. The important thing, I think, for viewers and for you and me is that we can give them information, whether it's news, politics, music, travel, like we said, like your magazine. That's because I want to do something that differs from every other channel. Most channels, they just focus on one thing. Either it's like politics and then it's nothing else. So I think that this is a good way to start.
We can get creative with our content.
Exactly. So I just want to say, to finish this off, thank you, Barry, for inviting me to start this channel with you in the States. I have my TV team Sweden, as you know, and it's growing, but Sweden is just little Sweden. I want to ask everybody who's watching this, all my Swedish subscribers, ni vet vem det är. Alla ni som prenumererar på TV Team Sweden. Jag har ju bättre att göra mig en tjänst och prenumerera på den här kanalen så jag och Barry kan växa. So finally, please subscribe, push the notification bell, share this first episode, and we will try to air a couple of episodes a week, and then we'll see what happens, okay?
Yeah. And I just want to say I love your office that you're broadcasting from.
Well, it's a little nicer than your floor, but on the other hand,
I got my office
that's
right
authentic.
At least I got a real flower.
Yeah, I got to show you how to be as fake as CNN. So we can do that.
Fake news.
Exactly.
But listen, I agree 100%. I think Social News Network TV should be a variety of different topics to talk about. And I think there's a lot of topics we can do and a lot of various exciting content that we can incorporate into this. So I'm excited.
And I changed the last name on every episode, and I've never done it in English. So I'll do it here for the first time. And we'll come back in a couple of days, you and me, right? So I say, as I do on TV Team Sweden here on Social News Network, peace, love, and understanding to everybody except Biden.
Absolutely. Okay, everybody, peace out.